Hey guys, today I want to briefly talk about some potential downsides to using a VPN and why lots of users are completely unaware that they aren't as secure as many providers want you to believe. Most of that is purely for marketing reasons, since the truth hurts their profits. So, without further ado, let's get started. Your VPN is not as secure as you think. To be clear, the VPN I'm referencing to is the consumer VPN, not the enterprise level virtual private network. A business VPN requires authentication to access company resources, and it has a host of security benefits and features. It's the contrast of the consumer VPN to the enterprise VPN that creates this misconception of security. A business VPN actually earns the title. A consumer VPN is a different story. If your employees are using consumer VPNs, your business could very well be at risk. For many people on the internet, anonymity, privacy, and security are paramount. In some cases, that online privacy is even essential for the user's physical safety. A consumer VPN is often seen as the first step toward that protection. This perception presents a serious problem because consumer VPNs simply don't provide those things in the way we want them to. Like we've mentioned before, it doesn't help that most of the big VPN providers spend a shit ton of money on ads with false marketing information about the great security and privacy protection when using their product. For example, they have sweeping claims. We found that 12 out of 16 of the VPNs we looked at either inaccurately represented their products and technology or made hyperbolic or overly bold claims about the kinds of protection that they provide their users. These claims, combined with a constant stream of news reports about security breaches, can lead people to worry more than necessary about banking online or visiting websites that are already encrypted using HTTPS. They can also give VPN users a false sense of security if they don't realize that the protections offered are not comprehensive. Hyperbolic claims and over-promising VPNs are not only unethical but also dangerous because it can lead to fostering a false sense of security. Many VPNs have promised complete anonymity or untraceability or protection from advertisers, governments, and criminals. However, advertisers and governments are both able to track people in many ways not involving their IP addresses, which is what VPNs obfuscate, and your data can be compromised through phishing, malware, and various other methods that VPNs can't address. As another example of how VPNs can make overly bold claims, a number of them say that they provide military-grade encryption. Many security professionals say that this term should be a red flag for consumers because it doesn't really mean anything. There is no one standard form of encryption used by the military. Plus, AES 256 encryption is basically the standard nowadays, so it's really nothing special. If you dig deeper on their website, such as privacy policy and forms of fine print, you can often find additional information that explains that VPNs are just one layer of protection. That points out the VPN's limitations, and that tells users to take additional steps to stay safe online. But, of course, most of these providers know that the average user never bothers to read any of the fine print, so they get misled. What's more, a consumer VPN can often put its users and tangentially the companies they work for at more risk than if they never used a VPN at all. The consumer VPN is a misnomer. It is not a virtual private network. It is not a network at all. It can help you tunnel to a more secure network, but many consumers aren't using it for that purpose. They are using it in isolation, assuming that on its own it will provide them security. Unfortunately, that simply isn't the case. We here at Security-Vulturs value privacy and security greatly, so it's essential that we educate our viewers on the risks associated with consumer VPNs and correct the misconceptions that they may be operating under. Particularly, if users are using their own personal devices to complete their work, they need to be aware of how these misconceptions are putting them and their network at risk. Consumer VPNs do not guarantee anonymity. A major misconception when it comes to consumer VPNs is that these VPNs are somehow providing true anonymity. Anyone who believes they're truly anonymous will be much less careful in how they use their device. And if that device is part of your home network, that risky behavior affects everyone. It's important for you all to be aware that if you surf the internet, there are all kinds of ways in which your anonymity is compromised, VPN or not. Social media, cookies, and browser fingerprinting can all put your identity at risk of exposure. Anonymity on the internet is nearly impossible. Using a basic consumer VPN certainly isn't going to provide it, yet many people believe it's a cure for all. Consumer VPNs do not guarantee privacy. The misconception is around privacy. A consumer VPN may protect someone from being seen by the ISP, but that comes at a cost. The ISP might not see the activity, but now that the VPN provider does. Many companies assure their customers that they don't log activity, but that has been proven wrong on more than one occasion. The worst VPNs will not only log activity, but sell it, which means that if you're using a consumer VPN while on your home network, or even just accessing services on your own device while the consumer VPN is running, your personal data could be at risk and on the auction block. The reality is, guys, there's simply no way to verify that a consumer VPN isn't logging user activity. If a government issues a warrant for activity logs, VPNs must provide and comply regardless of any company policy. Of course, some providers get around such issues if they operate in offshore jurisdictions, which don't have to comply with any warrants, but you still have to trust them that they do not do anything suspicious with your data. Also, if a VPN is in a country with a corrupt government that demands to see activity logs, users risk losing any privacy in the face of an unjust warrant. All of these things don't mean that a consumer VPNs don't have a purpose. They do. For example, a consumer VPN can be used to connect to a home network as long as the research has been done and the chosen VPN has a history of integrity. The scope of their benefit is just much smaller than many realize. Many users want to assign them more power than they actually have. They can't keep you anonymous, they don't necessarily keep your activity private, and they ultimately offer their own risks as well. This means that it's up to each of us to make sure we're using the right tools to protect ourselves while online, and it's up to others and other experts to make sure that the average user knows how to follow best practices for true online security. So that's it for part 1, guys. Make sure to stay tuned for our follow-up video, which will focus on browser fingerprints and why they're so important for anonymity online. We will also touch on a potential VPN alternative that could offer superior security and anonymity.